Hi, I'm Lone95 and I like to code. I really like to code. So what I'm going to do today is something fairly new for me. I'm going to show off a program that I wrote that plays music over voice chat for Roblox's Please Donate. Before I continue, I'd like to make two things very clear. One, I am not going to release this program. I know people will do stupid stuff with it. Like, people will make AFK bots, and I don't want a program that I made being used to scam people. Two, please just like and subscribe if you end up liking the video. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. Well, I was gonna say by the end of the year, but it's the 28th as I'm recording this, so that's not happening. But we should hit it eventually, you know. So please help make that happen. With that out of the way, let's get into the actual video. We start out with a lot of import statements. This program has a lot of dependencies, some of which are very easy to figure out. You know, Pygame and Pygame GUI do a lot of the work. JSON URL lib parses the output from an iTunes playlist extraction tool. Regex and string help to format the titles. Win32 API family makes the windows transparent and always on top, so on and so forth. The absolute most important ones here are Pygame, multiprocessing, and mutagen. Pygame provides the GUI on my end, as well as playing the music to both my speakers and the virtual cable output. Side note, all tools I didn't make will be linked in the description, in case you think they might be helpful for something you're making. Now getting back to the dependencies, Pygame GUI is also there to make having a multi-window interface a lot easier. Multiprocessing makes it so I can have one process playing the music to the virtual audio output for Roblox, and another process running the user interface and playing music to myself. Mutagen parses the MP3 tags, so this is how I can figure out what the track's title, artist, and album. I did not write the audio class here. Someone named Maya, I believe, probably how it's pronounced, in the Pygame Discord server wrote it. And to be completely honest, I'm not sure how it works. I do know what it allows me to do is get and set the exact millisecond position of a song. The get metadata function just uses mutagen to get the file's title, artist, and album. If the path errors out, it returns nothing and prints a message to the console. This is packaged up into a song class and makes it easier to get this info later, including the song's path and its millisecond length. iTunes to local function simply converts iTunes' weird URL encoded file paths to regular file paths. Roblox's chat censoring system is really weird, so in order to either shorten certain tiles or stop them being censored at all, I have to replace them. For a quick example, when it sees the penis eek, it will instead just use eek. The section above the replacements changes the format string used when formatting a song. Speaking of formatting a song, let's go look at that. The format song function takes an instance of the song class generated by get metadata and turns it into a string. The title is first replaced with anything from the replacement dictionary if it's available. Then, because of an edge case, the regex sub only happens if radio is not in the title. This edge case is that I have both the normal Still Alive portal, as well as the song tagged as Still Alive radio mix, and I want to be able to differentiate them. The regex sub function, which I am not a regex man, so I did not write this. This is from Stack Overflow. It removes the text between parentheses and square brackets. Then there's another edge case for Rhythm Heaven songs. If there are two little squiggly line characters, it'll replace the first one with an open parentheses and the other one with a closed parentheses. If there's only one, then it splits the string there, otherwise it doesn't really do anything. After that, it defines a format string. If the album is in the exclude album list, it'll replace the F string with one better for title artist rather than title album. And more regex and string replacements happen in order to format something like Portal Soundtrack 2007 to just Portal. Then the format album field is plugged into the replacements like the title was. Same thing with the artist field. Okay, we're almost to the end of the function, so just give it a second. But here, the text is combined with the F string. If song.album is an exclude album, it uses the artist, otherwise it uses the album. Finally, it replaces everything not in string.printable with a space character, strips the output, and returns it. That was quite a bit, so I understand if you need to take a little break. This isn't even the largest function in the program, so sit tight and we'll get to that one eventually. In the meantime, I do have games, lin95.com/games, there's Flash games, yay, yippee, I love Papa's Pizzeria. The save function is very simple. It just prints out text to the console, and if the debug mode is off, it types it out using PyDirect input. Now this function is very helpful for the GUI as it filters all the songs to ones with keywords specified in the search query. It loops over every song, and then loops over every keyboard in the query, aka it splits the query and loops over that. If the song has already been found, it skips it. Then, if the keyboard is in its formatted version, it adds it to the found dictionary. Then it sorts it alphabetically and returns it. This is it. This is the largest function in the program. Now, why is it the largest function in the program? Because it's the entire goddamn user interface! Now, you may be asking me why the hell I do it like this, but it's actually surprisingly simple. I'm stupid and don't know how else to use multiprocessing. So let's get comfy and go through the whole function. First thing you might notice is the absurd amount of arguments it has. Now, why is that? That would be because they are all multiprocessing values that are required to run the program. For example, ready is a boolean value that tells the GUI that it's ready, so when it's set, the main thread starts playing. This way they're just in sync. I won't go over all of these, but if it comes up, I'll let you know. So first, it initializes Pygame and starts out with a 1x1 borderless window. This is kinda weird, right? This just makes it so my entire screen doesn't flash black when it initializes. Then it gets set up as being always on top. It loads the song into an audio object, gets a clock, gets a UI manager, and sets up all the widgets in the UI. Then it sets the volume to be a sixth of what it should be. This is just so I can hear Roblox a little bit easier, and even then it's still hard to hear. Then it starts playing the music and sets ready to true. Then it quits the display system? Okay, well it has to reinitialize it as a full screen window. It's as simple as that. So we have finally entered the UI's main loop. The paused buffer value is just so it does not immediately quit when it's paused. In the pygame.event.get loop, you may notice there's a lot under UI button pressed. Take a wild guess as to why that is. This should, for the most part, be self-explained, but some of the weirder buttons here are the previous song, which decreases the current index by 2 instead of 1. This is because it automatically increases by 1 at the end, and -2 plus 1 is a net of -1. Submit query searches songs, kills all the previous song buttons, and creates new ones. Pretty much the same thing happens with the show playlist button. File dialog.ok button opens a file to write the current path. No, this isn't a mistake or a debugging feature, this is what really happens. For whatever reason, when trying to read a multiprocessing string to get this data between the threads, the Python interpreter just crashes when trying to read it from the other guy. So I just make a file and have the other thread read it. The else clause makes it so that any song button event ID will set index.value so that thing's index -1, because we need to have it auto-increment at the end. The UI horizontal slider moved event handles the volume and position sliders. Position slider first enables the pause buffer, then rewinds to the song's beginning, sets a seeking value to true, and plays from the progress slider's current position times 1000 times the song length, remapping from a 0 to 1 range to the song's current millisecond. And if the left mouse button isn't pressed, reset seeking to false. That's really simple compared to a lot of the other stuff here. If done's value is set, change the title of the window to reflect that. If we're seeking, mute the song. And if the volume mod is less than 1, set it to 1 and change the volume to volume value over volume mod. Volume mod is normally 6, so that's where the 1/6 of the normal volume comes from. We get the current time and the progress in the song and use that to display the time left if it's less than a minute. Then it displays the uptime using a function I skipped over that just converts milliseconds into hours, minutes, and seconds. If the current time is greater than or equal to 20 seconds before the song ends, and the warning sound effect hasn't been played yet, load it and play it. Then we just set the progress slider's value to the song's progress times 1000. Then we set the Windows X and Y values, so it saves it for next time. These two 132 lines, I barely understand, but the first one sets the transparent color of the window, and the second one makes it always stay on top. The GUI manager is updated, the window is filled with the transparent color, and the UI is drawn, Pygame updates, and the loop finishes when the process exits. That's the majority of the program down. And also, that's all the functions! Now onto the main loop. No break for you this time. No, you don't get one. You don't deserve it. You don't get to play run. Since this code should only execute on the main thread, the name equals main statement does that. Then all the multiprocessing values are set up with the right types. A command for iTunes data, the iTunes parsing tool mentioned earlier, is set up with the right parameters and executed with os.system if reload library is enabled. Otherwise, it just prints that it's not enabled. Playlist.json is loaded, then it loops over all the playlists until the right one is found. If there isn't one found, it just exits. After that, it loops over every track and runs get metadata on it, appending the result to the song list. If the result is none, it prints an error and continues. The mixer is initialized twice, which is the only way this works for some reason. but it gets initialized with the virtual audio cable's input, a fake speaker that is piped into a fake microphone. The song list is randomly shuffled, this current song is set to what's at the current index, and says that is what's now playing. While the program is not finished, it sets the volume. Then, if the index is too lower than the length of songs, it reshuffles and resets the index. The next and current songs are also decided, unless an arbitrary song was picked, in which it uses that. Then it initializes the UI function with all of its billion parameters, and waits till it receives the ready signal. While the song is playing, it checks if it needs to change what's up next, where it is, if it's paused, the volume, and other stuff. 20 seconds before the song ends, it prints a warning to the console, and at 15 seconds before, it types out when the next song is in chat. If skip.value is set, it immediately stops the music. It waits for the second thread to die, checks if it's done, if it is, it exits, and checks for an arbitrary song or skip. Finally, it increments the index, checks if it needs to be reshuffled, and resets skip. And that's it! A very simple and easy program. This took me 14 hours to code. But you know, it was fun, and it helped me get a lot of Robux, so that's pretty cool too. If you made it here, thanks for listening to me ramble about some code I wrote. I said at the beginning, but if you liked the video, please do like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 at some point, where I'll probably do a stream playing through, like, Little Big Planet 3 or something. Anyways, this is the end of the video, so please, have a nice day.